Hi everybody, I'm Scott Bino, Vice President of Marketing for North America here at Crawford & Company. And today on Crawford Chat, I am joined by Miles Eibe.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Scott. I've been watching your episodes that we talk about. I'm honored to be on it, so thank you for having me.
Well, the honor is all on this side.
I appreciate it, yeah.
So Miles, I have a few questions for you today. The theme for this episode is all around saying yes that lead you to sort of growth opportunities. So Miles, you've been here for 11 years?
11 years.
11 years. So what's your approach to saying yes to new opportunities? Is there any moment or stretch or pivot moment in your career that you can speak to about this idea of saying yes?
Yeah. I think what's so great about Crawford & Company is we just have a breadth of so many services, field ops, GTS, workers' comp, liability, praxis adjuster, AIS. I'm probably missing double that, right? And they're all they're filled with brilliant people, with great processes. And I was lucky enough early on in my career, really starting off with Crawford, I was in a role, it was called the CEO claims trainee role. And that was, it gave you a chance to really touch on all of those businesses. So it was rotational. So in the very beginning, I had a chance I started off in workers' comp and worked in Broadspire, workers' comp, then liability. And then ended up in field ops, got to be a part of GTS for a little bit. And then I ended with A&H, which is our accident and health group, and actually ended up with a role in accident and health. And I think that, I kind of copied that, just honestly, because there's so many great people to meet. There's so many different systems and the way that things work that you can kind of take it across the other business lines. And I think that when you talk about stretching or moving into a different role, it's making yourself uncomfortable, and I think we've probably all heard it. If you're not uncomfortable, then you're not growing. And I feel like I've tried to do that as much as I possibly could. And because if you don't understand something, you need to lean into it further. Same with if you're uncomfortable, you need to lean into it further. So that was really kind of my path and the why, and me trying to say yes to as many opportunities as I could. Was because our company does so many great things, and it's a great way to meet people in the new processes and stuff like that.
That's great. And you mentioned people, right? And you mentioned there's a lot of great people here, a lot of talented people here. So I got to believe for a guy like you, mentorship is really important. Yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about what that has meant to you, if you've had a mentor in the past, or even how you kind of pay that forward in terms of some of your being a mentor to others? Can you talk to me a little bit about mentorship?
Yeah. I think that I've had quite a few mentors over my career here. You don't even have to have a formalized mentor. I've talked about being able to join various different segments of the organization, and just where I'm at, in U.S. loss adjusting now, you have somebody like Griff Rogers that I think has been with the organization for 25 years. I could be a little bit off, sorry, Griff, it is. And Rick Younger, I think, has been here for 35 years. And if you can build a relationship with those individuals, you can pick up the phone and call them and build that. And so you're having a constant mentorship. And then to the pay it forward part, Crawford obviously we have interns probably all over the world. We do have them all over the world, but I know at very least here at the Atlanta Support Center, we normally have on average about 20 interns. And so they put together a program, and I was lucky enough to be invited to speak to them for quite a few years. And a few of the things that I would always start have a slide deck to kind of present to them, and I'd always start off talking about, similar to what we're doing right now, kind of talking about my start and everything. And then it would be more of, the first thing I start off with is, you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar, and that just boils down to being nice. Yeah. And how much being nice can really bring you forward. Yeah. And you can be the smartest person in the room, but if you're not a very nice individual, like you won't have the respect of a lot of people, or they might not listen to you. So listen to other people's opinions and everything else, giving them a chance, helping them learn, and then you can always direct it your way at some point. But it's listening and being kind in that way. And then the second thing I always start off with is the person's why, is trying to figure out, what is your why. Why do you come into work? What is it that drives you? What are your passions? You and I were talking about music prior, so that's just something all of a sudden you and I are going to relate to. So I think that finding ways to relate to people, finding ways to connect with them is it's a great way. I think it kind of boils back to the first point of just making friends around everybody, because it helps when you need something, because you can, and it's not manipulative by any means, but it's just, truly, if I have a marketing question, I'm gonna pick up and be, hey, Scott, hey man, how do I do this? Yeah. And that makes so much more of a difference than me having to send you a formalized email and being like, I don't know how he's gonna take this. Yeah. So, it just helps.
Yeah. I love that. And I think you mentioned interns and sort of internship and being involved in that. Are there any things that you've participated in, whether it's educational opportunities or things that are sort of outside of your day-to-day, that you've had a chance to be a part of or help lead? How has some of that maybe shaped your perspective as a leader?
Yeah, probably to start off, I mean, just it would be the AIC, which is the Associates in Claims, run by or provided by the institutes, and that's something that Crawford encourages all our adjusters and staff to go get, and that was something that I got during the first year here at Crawford, and the next one, my big goal would be to get the CPCU, which is really like the pinnacle of like insurance. So getting that would be awesome for me, but I'd say like outside of just like book studies, it's trying to be as involved in the industry as you can. So you and I were talking about it earlier, but it's just like getting the like signing up for the insurance journals and getting those emails, and it's just like flashes of information of like, oh well, this is what's going on in the industry, and that just allows you to talk, and figure out kind of where the industry's going and everything else. And I use YouTube even quite a bit, like, I mean, obviously I think a big buzzword right now, it's not even a buzzword, it's just real, is AI. Everybody's AI. I've got my algorithm essentially set now where it's just popping up, what's new in AI, what are other industries doing in AI, and you had Grok 4 come out, that's big. It's about pushing towards what they call AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, and a goal towards eventually ASI. And it's a wild world, and like I said, you get to see what other industries are doing and how I can we can incorporate that in to Crawford. And so I watch a good amount of YouTube videos on that sort of stuff, and then I would say social media, but not like the typical Facebook and Instagram social media. I have LinkedIn on my top one, so that is what I just browse all the time. And I think that you follow Crawford, you get to follow your competitors, you get to follow your clients, and you get to engage with them. You get to see kind of what y'all are putting together from a marketing perspective, and see what all around the world is going. And that's how you can learn. There's articles, there's people, you can voice your opinions and learn, and that's another just absolutely great way that I try to embrace yourself into like business.
Yeah, let's pull on that thread a little bit. Let's talk about learning. Yeah. Right. So. Do you have a particular project or maybe a role that you've had in the past that really challenged you, that really pushed you, and that helped you grow, and you kind of reflect on that and say, wow, I'm so glad I said yes to that?
Yeah, probably working in the catastrophe group was probably one of the most challenging of it, probably the most rewarding as well. But big hurricanes or whatever, wildfires, normally it's the hurricanes that really will be large events. I mean, that is a very, very all hands on deck. Everything has to be done immediately, and you're working really, really long days, or you're working a lot of days and many hours, especially right in the beginning of it. And I would say that was my most challenging role, was working in CAT. We have a great group in our CAT unit now that does a good job, and they're still running through it. But there's been a lot of projects, I would say, like there's been a lot of technology to really help us. Renovo would be a big one that we've leveraged. For anybody that wouldn't know, it's just it's a proprietary system that we build, and it houses all of our adjusters. So it's all of our W-2 adjusters, and in that system, it has thousands of our adjusters and all their attributes. So it's where are they located, what licenses do they hold, what's their expertise. Even at the end of the assignment, like when it's all done, like we're giving them a 1 through 5 score, and so it has a rating on there too. So in the past, what we were having to do was go through, run Excels, and try to do VLOOKUPs, match them all together, and be like, okay, here's the perfect people that you're looking for. And it was manual. It took us a long time. But what we ended up doing was we made it to where it was automated. So it was like an advanced search little feature, and you'd be like, okay, I want them in the state of Georgia, I want them to have a Georgia license, I want them to have this expertise, and I want them to have this star rating. It'd pull them up in order, and then you just mass select them, and you'd hit send, and it'd send them the assignment, and then they would accept it. And that just dramatically changed like our pace. And it was I mean, I think that, we ran some numbers on it, and that was maybe 12 to 16 hours it would take us to fill like an order. But during one of them, and it was a desk assignment, it was remote, which are more popular for the sake of the data here. But we were able to cut it down. We filled a 200-person order in 12 minutes. I mean, it doesn't matter. It would have been unheard of back when we were doing it. We could have been picking up the phone and having to call 500 people to get 200. But now you're texting them; they're immediately coming back and saying, "Yes, I accept." So that was impactful, massive for the team, massive for the CAT department, and made a big difference in the organization. So it was a challenging project, challenging role, but it was made a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I have one more question for you.
Okay.
You've talked a lot about this too with your trajectory in your career, people you've met, mentorship. You just sort of touched on some projects. Looking back at the journey that you've had up to this point, if you could talk to your younger self, what would you tell him about growing your career at Crawford and immersing yourself in the insurance industry as a whole?
Probably from an internal perspective, I probably wouldn't have changed too much. I think that I enjoyed, new challenges and roles, and we talked about that. And I think that it's so beneficial to see that. I've enjoyed all that. I think if I would have changed something, it probably would have been from an external perspective. I should have earlier on gotten out in the market. I got to sit in front of clients, but it's not necessarily that. It's going out and, going to the events, going to the trainings, going to your local areas, whatever it is, event. It could be insurance related, it could be tech related, it could be your alumni association. It doesn't matter. It's just like anybody who shows up to those sort of things are driven. It's like the people who join clubs. It's like they're taking time out of their day to go spend to try to meet people, learn, and grow themselves. And I could have done more of that earlier on. I think I was just nervous because I was like, I don't know anything. That's the perfect time to go, and that's the chance to be like, I don't know anything. I'm gonna go, hey, mentor me, or learn, and it's all about who you know in the industry, and regardless, it's all about who you know. And insurance is a small world, big industry, small world, and I think that I would have gotten out there sooner, and something I still try to do as much as I possibly can now. So,
That's great advice, just putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of wraps into the whole theme of putting yourself in that uncomfortable place, because that's where growth happens. And that's kind of another example of that. So I think that's a great answer. That's great advice.
Yeah. It's it's like kind of stinks to you're all like, I don't know anybody, I don't know anything, and making yourself uncomfortable, but you get there. It takes a few months, and all of a sudden you're like, I got the hang of this.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot better.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Miles, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to me, and really appreciate you being on Crawford Chat.
Yeah.
And to everybody watching, thanks so much for watching this episode, and stay tuned for future episodes. Did you have a childhood nickname, and does it haunt you?
Well, some people, because my name's Miles, so the big joke is kilometers, which is,
That's I'm Canadian, so
yeah, so that
we find that hilarious.
So you should only call me kilometers.
I'm gonna
at
call
this point. It doesn't haunt me. No, I just, it's like, kilometers. Yeah, you got me.
That's such a Canadian joke. What's one thing you always mess up, no matter how hard you try?
Fixing a toilet.
Fixing a toilet.
Can't fix a toilet.
Does this happen often?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I just need to buy a new toilet. Busy, have 2 kids. It's tough to get to fixing toilets. But I messed that up.
And then toilet. What's the most ridiculous fear you have?
By far, snakes.
Snakes?
Yeah. Oh, snakes.
Any snake?
Yeah, any snake. Touching them in books freaks me out.
Touching snakes in books?
In books, yeah. Like, it bothers me, if it pops up on a commercial. I'm like, why do we have, or you're scrolling through social media.
Yeah, well, I want you to look behind you. What's the weirdest thing you believed as a kid?
Maybe that I could be like some sort of the cartoon characters that that I watch. I guess I'm more thinking of if anybody knows the anime, more of like a Dragon Ball Z sort of character.
Oh, do you want it to be?
Oh yeah, you gotta be good.
Yeah. So, you don't have the hair though.
I don't.
I don't. But
I haven't turned Super Saiyan yet. There's nerd. I was gonna say nerd mode there. So.
If you were a potato, how would you like to be cooked?
We'll do some mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes. You would like to be mashed?
Yes, I think mashed, but I don't know why.
Just making sure we're all. You look good. See, I look. Oh, you have a Crawford shirt underneath. Every so often you should just be like,
Yeah. Exposing myself.
so natural, yeah. Yeah,
Rah,
we did it, man.
let's go.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.